Basically what we have here is a scaled down mobile version replication of our research and development facility back at headquarters. Oakley tests its product to the most stringent set of standards known to the eyewear industry. It's basically a set of tests that are kind of developed by the American National Standards Institute, otherwise known as ANSI. We test to a level of Z87.1, which is the most stringent set of tests for optical clarity and definition of the lenses, as well as safety, impact protection, and basically what OSHA would require in the workforce. So just get started, I'll run you through these tests real quick. This first one right here is a laser prism test. So what I have are two paths of light coming out of those two machines. Two lasers converging down to one focal point. So what this simulates essentially is what happens as light passes through a pair of sunglasses. Now typically sunglasses these days are built in a wrapped form, which is great because it fits around your face, your head. It's good for style, fit, comfort, protection, and a whole number of things. But what it naturally does is it curves the shape of that lens. When light hits a curved surface, it wants to follow that curvature and refract outwards, which is like a prism effect. So for the pair of competitors, I'm not going to name names. If you're close enough to me, you can probably see what I've got. But just to show you what can happen to light, you look down there, those two paths of light, and they obviously diverge quite a bit horizontally as well as a little shift downwards as well. Now basically this is what your eyes are seeing through these lenses without the use or function of your brain. But fortunately we have a brain to overcompensate for that. But over time that's going to work like a camera shooting like 1,000 frames per second to correct for that distortion of imagery. Basically, light is going to be shifting objects at a distance. So what you see here, can be shifted 10 feet at a distance of 50 feet, a couple inches, at 5 feet or so. But if you're staring down like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball or something like that, it can easily compromise your ability to hit the baseball. So I'll just run through some competitors to show you what other people's shades are doing. Not so bad horizontally, but it's definitely a shift downwards, which is even harder for your eyes to correct for. But essentially what you want to see is with a pair of Oakleys, you can see just that one dot down there. Now this is achieved through one of our patents. We have over 500 optical patents, this one being XYZ taper correction, which is essentially light's also attracted to the thicker, denser portion of a lens, or of any material for that matter. Basically what we found is the optical center running horizontally through each lens and taper corrected for it outwards, downwards, and dimensionally. So that way when light enters this lens, it's naturally being attracted to where your eye is viewing out of. There's no difference between wearing a pair of Oakleys and not wearing sunglasses at all. And this will be achieved in any one of our eyewear pieces. So that's XYZ technology, taper correction. This next test here is a scope test. What I have here is a camera simulating this image at 35 feet of distance. 35 feet is what your eyes should be able to see clearly with 20/20 vision. So in order to pass this test, we want to see 20 lines of resolution on the vertical and horizontal axes. Basically, we want to see those clearly and defined without that object shifting. Now again, this is testing for the clarity of the lens material. So again, start with some competitors. See a shift, which is that prism effect again. These are real drunk. So you get the point. So that's what a lot of our competitors are going to be doing. What you want to see is with a pair of Oakleys, see that pretty spot on. And even though it's a light lens, I'll use a darker lens, and again, passing. So basically, it's how we produce our lens material. A lot of competitors use polycarbonate. CR39 is another very commonly used lens material out there. They're both forms of plastic. Some people still use glass. But the difference is how we produce our polycarbonate. So we start with the highest optical grade in the rawest form, and then back at headquarters in California under one roof, we purify that material. So basically, we melt it down, let impurity settle to the bottom, skim off the top layer, and injection mold our lenses. This offers the highest clarity, so there's not little carbon molecules, little black specks and what have you, distorting the imagery that you're viewing through. It also has a very higher strength ratio. So the nice thing about that, basically by purifying it, it becomes a proprietary substance to us, but we refer to our lenses as plutonite. It's very impact resistant, but it's also just inherently UV protective. So it's going to block 100% of UV A, B, and C light, as well as harmful blue light just inherently. So even with a clear Oakley lens, you're going to block all that light out. We don't need to put filters or anything like that on. And again, just to mention, you know, all these tests we run our goggles through as well. It's just a little bit harder to run that. So that's kind of the optical side in a nutshell. Down here we also offer impact. So for impact we offer two different tests, a high velocity and a high mass test. So this first test, if you guys want to scoot down here.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Kind of hard to see. Make friends with your neighbor. Now essentially here I got just a large scale BB gun. It's a pneumatic cannon which is shooting a 1/4 inch steel BB at a rate of 150 feet per second. It's about 102 miles an hour. So basically in comparison we just made up a whole bunch of generic frames. This one happens to have a tempered glass lens. You know, a lot of lenses are still made out of tempered glass like I mentioned. Ray-Ban and Maui Jim for example use it. Your windshield's made out of tempered glass. But it's not necessarily the most impact resistant material. So to illustrate that is that 1/4 inch steel BB. And keep your eye on that nearest lens. Obviously that's going to shatter. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of dramatic, but hey, you can be walking your dog down the road, riding your bike, anything like that. That could be a pebble, a piece of gravel that kicks out from a tire that's getting shot at you at least that fast, if not faster. That said, on average, airbags deploy at an average rate of 250 feet per second. So that's almost twice as fast. Even though it's a broad impact, it can easily shatter glass lenses in your face. In comparison, Oakley gas cans, one of our more popular styles and fits, also a nice price point starting around 90 bucks. So while maintaining all those optics, you know, we still offer all of this, you know, optics and impact resistance in, you know, any pair of our sunglasses. So again, same 1/4 inch steel BB. And all you see seconds. You can see a tiny little nick there. Now essentially that's all that's going to happen to your lenses. It is a plastic, so it's going to scratch. But that said, like I was saying, with that material being inherently UV protective, it's still going to block all that harmful light just inherently. You know, if you had to put a UV coating over a lens and then you scratch that UV coating, well then you're letting that harmful light in even though your eyes are adjusted to the lens tin and all that. So, that's high velocity. And on to our final test is the high mass test. So again, same generic frame, this time with a CR39 lens. I mentioned it earlier, it's another form of plastic lens material. It's the most widely used lens material out there. You're going to find it in all your fashion pieces, Chanel, Gucci, Prada, like 300 bucks and up. You're going to find it at 7-Eleven for 8 bucks. You can find it all over the place. Got a 500 gram spike if anybody wants to feel that. A little over a pound. You can go ahead and drop it. But even though this is a plastic lens, this plastic isn't so impact resistant.
Awesome. It's like a lane you're just at the beach and it just drops their, you know, their crown, their metal spike on my face. It happens a lot. I think about it where my Oakley.
But with Oakleys, so yeah, you're gonna get an impact.
I would hope so.
But it didn't crack the lens, didn't crack through it. The lens didn't eject from the frame didn't eject from the dummy's head. The overall impact didn't pass the threshold of the frame material, so never entered your eye cavity, any soft tissue of your eye. That said, the lens pops out that easily, but withstands that impact force. Due to the marriage, I mean, of creating everything under one roof in California. You know, enough can't be said about that. We make everything here in America. So if there's ever like a flaw in production, we just move down the line and correct it right there. That said, go buy yourself a new pair of lenses. You can go to Oakley.com, nearest dealer, and just pop them back in. So essentially, all those tests combined is what ANSI Z87.1 rating is. That's how we claim HDO or high definition optics. And thanks for coming through. Anybody have any questions? All right, go make yourself a pair of custom goggles.
Hello. Thank you. Okay. Oh.
like stomach pumped you.
You know, people are always like, oh, Smith. I'm like, have y'all not seen me? These crazy tents?